and welcome to the Genelec USA Experience Center. I'm Paul.
And I'm Izzy.
And we couldn't be more excited about today's launch. We're unveiling something truly special, the new Genelec 8380 monitor. It's powerful, precise, and built to deliver exceptional clarity and control. The 8380 joins our main Ones monitor series following the recently launched 8381A. It's a three-way SAM monitor that combines advanced coaxial driver technology with an optimized waveguide design in conjunction with a 15-inch driver.
That's right, Paul. It's designed for precise imaging and neutral sound reproduction. The 8380 is ideal for high SPL applications, whether you're recording, mixing, mastering, or enjoying high-fidelity listening. With exceptional dynamics, low self-noise, and sharp resolution, the 8380 delivers an enveloping listening experience. Even at just 1 meter away, you get pristine, stable imaging and phase coherence without the listening fatigue.
And that's just the beginning. In this launch, we'll take you behind the scenes from product development to real-world applications. To understand the heart of the 8380, we need to go where it all begins, where innovation meets craftsmanship. Let's take you to the Genelec factory in Finland and hear from our R&D manager for acoustics, Jussi Väisänen.
So, Jussi, tell me something about this new monitoring product that we have here.
The model name is 8380. It's part of the main monitor range, and it's a new addition. And we are very excited about this, especially because now we are introducing a coaxial design in the main monitor range. We previously had the 8381 in the same range, but that was in the top of the range and a flagship product. But now we are bringing the technology down a bit, and now it's more accessible to many people, and we hope that people will enjoy this new speaker.
So what do we have here for the drivers?
Well, comparing against those existing models in our lineup, of course, the 8381 is at the other extreme, so it's a full floor standing speaker with very high SPL capability and having the room adaptation technology brought to the extreme. So that's like in the other extreme of you could say technology. But it is still very close when you think about the sound quality, the main sound quality when compared to the 8380. And the same thing applies to the 8361, which is the largest model of the Ones range. And that is providing you already quite a good amount of SPL, good imaging, everything that is related to coaxial technology is there. But now the 8380 is sitting very nicely in between those two speaker models. So you get more SPL, more dynamic behavior compared to the 8361. But of course you don't get the full beauty of the 8381, which is like a no compromise design and really a large speaker system with all the technologies that we can actually offer.
So this 8380 gives you the same solid soundstage than 8381 does.
It definitely does, yes.
The bottom end is slightly different. Would you tell me something about that?
Yes, the bottom end is different in that respect that now we cover the whole low frequency range with the single 15-inch woofer unit. And compared to the 8381, we split the low frequencies between different drive units so that we can control the in-room frequency response a bit better. Of course, it comes with the cost, it comes with the larger physical size. So here you can get a lot of those same features that you get with the large 8381, like the good impact and the good SPL output at the critical 1 to 200 Hertz range, which gives you that like haptic sensation when you listen to the loudspeaker. Where the 8361 is good as well, but it really can't offer that level of physical feeling as because of the ability to move air is a bit less with those slightly smaller woofer units.
So this one is able to move the air. So this is really stepping up the capacity in that sense.
Correct.
Tell me about these new reflex port designs.
The new reflex port designs are improvement over the existing slot ports that we have in the main monitor range. So partly this was developed because we wanted to maximize the waveguide area of the coaxial design. But also we noticed that now that we moved to the coaxial working principle, we also saw that actually the slot ports at the side, they did have a negative impact more than the separate driver design.
So they were acoustically visible
Yes.
in the mid-range and higher frequencies.
Yes,
Okay.
and everything happening at the same frequency because the distances, all that nerdy stuff up with the coaxial design, it was exaggerated. That was one reason why we wanted to do something with this. And we've also learned a thing or two over the years. So we knew that we can actually improve the linearity of the ports as well.
So now the ports has moved in the middle here. They're kind of hidden by this DCW shape, so the high frequencies
Correct.
don't hit the ports anymore.
Yes.
So the mid and high frequencies remain clean.
True. Yeah.
And then the port design is also cleaner.
Yes, that as well. Yes, there's quite a bit of layering in both ends of the port, so we are able to push more air at low frequencies, and with higher SPL levels, you still don't have any like spurious noises or any negative artifacts because of the ports.
So this remains very clean, high SPL level output capacity, very clean LF.
Yes.
So that is very good. And then you have this huge DCW in the top here. What does this do to imaging?
Well, the key thing to have the large waveguide is, of course, that you can control the off-axis characteristics of the loudspeaker. So we can basically make sure that the on-axis frequency response is well behaving, but nothing weird is happening off-axis. So we're able to maintain the smooth transition when you move off-axis. The frequency response doesn't change, the sound color doesn't change. But also when we have the coaxial technology, you don't have any time-related issues. So there's no like a summation of drivers which are not in the same space or in the same physical spot in space. So you have the coaxial technology, so you have that time-related benefit as well at the same time.
So you have the tweeter, the mid-range on the same physical axis,
Yes.
on the same acoustical axis. And then you have this large shape that you have optimized so that, of course, on the axis we have flat neutral frequency response. But if you start going off axis to the left or right, and in this case also up or down,
Yes.
audio remains clean.
Yes, and that is of course the biggest difference when you compare against the separate driver design. That when you move in vertical direction, you can't really maintain the relationship between the drivers because you have to sum them up at some point, and you have these time of flight differences. You can't escape it. So here we don't have it. So everything remains very clean.
So here the summing is working perfectly because everything is on axis, so we can optimize the crossover points.
True. Yes.
And then because the off-axis audio remains clean, that should have an effect on the reverberation in the room.
Yeah, that's true as well. Yes. Yes.
So what does this contribute in that regard?
Well, everything is well behaving, and of course the room influence is also it's more you can anticipate what the room does. So there's no weird things going on. All the reflections are having the same sound color as your on-axis sound, basically.
So the reverberation remains clean.
True. Yes.
And more neutral than in traditional design.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. You mentioned about the timing between the tweeter, the mid-range, and also the woofer. What can you tell about that?
Yes, of course, because of the coaxial technology, the timing, like the physical alignment of the driver is doing the trick here, and the timing is perfect.
Something I understand this is introducing is basically extremely low idle channel noise, even going to negative dBs.
That's true as well, and that's something that we have discussed quite a bit, because a negative value is always a bit challenging when you start to
explain anyway.
to explain or put it on a data sheet, but that's true. Because the hearing threshold in decibels, it's actually very logical that you can have negative dBs. So,
Yeah, 0 dBs is 20 micropascals.
Yes.
So if it's negative, then it's less than 20
yes,
micropascals.
yeah. But the whole thing is based on human hearing, so yeah, the 0 is there because of that. So the negative is actually, it's a true value, but it just means that there's basically no idle noise.
So 0 means that most people don't hear anything at that point.
True. Yes.
So if we go less than that, it means that this becomes really noise-free monitor.
Yes. Yes.
How about the maximum SPL? What do we get here?
The maximum SPL we get plenty. So of course we want to, of course, make it clear for people that please be careful with the loudspeakers or even the smallest products or speakers that we produce. You're able to get a hearing damage by just cranking up them loud. But of course you still need the high SPL. You need the dynamics. So from like silent passages to high transients, you really need the high SPL, even though you're not playing loud all the time. So you can hear if you don't have it designed in. You can really hear it, and that's usually the difference between small speaker and large speaker. And of course, in this case, it's already a substantial speaker, and it can produce SPLs up to 122 dBs.
So basically noise-free in its idle state, and then your maximum is very high.
Yes.
So you really can hear everything that has been recorded.
Yes, true. Yeah.
And this would make a perfect building block for an immersive layout.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
an immersive layout has a large number of monitoring loudspeakers. So if they are noise-free, that's a perfect situation.
That's true. Yes, yes, it fits well in the like a multi-speaker system because the noise is adding up. But if you have low noise levels, then you don't have any issues.
How about amping? You know, we don't see it. The amplifier is behind this enclosure. It's actually attached to the enclosure at the moment. But what options do we have for amping?
Yeah, you can actually remove the amplifier from the rear and have it remotely somewhere else. So you can cable it from a longer distance in case you have the speaker is flush mounted in a cavity in a wall. Then you can remove the amp and put it in the rack room or wherever you want to put it. So
this is nicely rectangular. We have reflex ports in the front, so I could flush mount this.
You can easily do that. Yeah.
And it's actually the same size as 1238, 1038.
Exactly.
So it could go in the same recess.
Exactly like that, yes.
So how about the amplifier? Does it make any noise?
No, there's no noise. There's no fans.
So it's easy to install anywhere.
It's easy,
You
yes.
could basically install it next to this loudspeaker in the monitoring space if you wanted,
Of
because
course.
it's not
Yes.
making any noise.
Yes, definitely.
And I understand we also include rack mount ears in the package, you know, when people are getting.
Yes,
This
that's
monitor.
included. So of course, then if you need to use them, they're already in the package.
So do I have everything? What is not included?
Well, the cable, if you need a certain length cable, that's not included. I mean, that needs to be handled then.
So we are using speak and connectors here. So could I just go into any store and get a ready-made cable?
You can, yes. It's one-to-one connection, so of course you need to be sure that you have a like standard connection in the speaker cable. But when that's checked, then you're good to go.
Okay, so if I order this, I get everything in the same box except the cable.
Except the cable, yes.
Yeah, perfect. Tell me something about the GLM support that is provided for this monitor.
Well, full GLM support, and now that we have the linear phase mode, it's also part of the most recent, like the ones family. So you can freely mix it with the other loudspeakers. There's no delay related issues. So in that sense, also it works very very well in the multi-speaker setup, and there's full GLM support, of course.
So I could freely mix this with smaller monitors or even 81 if I wanted.
Yes, yes. But it's a modern design now, so it follows the same design principles and guidelines like in the ones range, where we have the most recent computing power that we can do.
And GLM offers me automatic calibration in the room. I could calibrate for a single point or an area.
Yes.
And then how about full reporting on my calibration. We are offering the grade report. What does that give us?
The grade report is an awesome tool, and especially when you're trying to find out the optimal placement. If you need to sort of learn what your room is doing or want to understand that do I need to do some acoustic treatment for my space. But even after that, it gives you a full report which has all the data you need to basically evaluate the room.
So I can see what the room was doing before we equalized anything. I can see how the monitors were equalized, how the times of flight were aligned.
Correct.
I can see the time frequency analysis of the reverberation in the room, and I can understand to what extent my room is fulfilling the 1116 criteria.
Yes, true. Yes. So you basically have a full package there. You only need that one tool to evaluate the room acoustics, and that's very handy.
And it's basically an easy PDF download, or then I can just get it on the Genelec website after I have done a calibration.
Yes, you only need to log in. When you do the calibration, you just need to be logged in so that we can get the cloud computing done and the access to your account. So that's how it works. Very convenient.
Okay, Jussi, tell me about the environmental friendliness of this new monitor.
Sustainability is in focus at Genelec, that's for sure. So in the case of the 8380, of course we have thought it wherever we can, basically. So we're using well-known suppliers, that's one thing. So we know where the goods are coming from, we can follow them. So,
and we are sourcing locally, for example, this enclosure.
Yes, as much as we can, and also a lot of parts, like in the coaxial driver, we're able to source locally.
But this is, once this is manufactured, it's going to be there for a very long time because it's designed to last.
That is in I would say in big focus. We think about it in such a way that it's going to be there forever, and we should be able to maintain it.
What is ISS?
The ISS stands for the intelligent signal sensing.
And what does it do?
It automatically shuts down the loudspeaker when there's no input signal detected. So it lowers the power consumption of the loudspeaker.
So we are thinking of the environment when we manufacture this, but also during its full lifetime.
True, yes. We want to do this as much as we can.
It's clear that the 8380 is more than just a monitor. It's part of a legacy of innovation. Next up, we'll explore how the 8380 performs in real-world environments. Stay tuned.
やっぱ音楽ってやっぱり低域なんですよね。低音の表現力みたいなのが実はものすごく重要でバッチリです。8380A ですけども、パッと聞いた瞬間に音のスピードっていうか立ち上がりがものすごくいいなっていうのがまず第一の印象でしたね。この楽器にこのマイクを立ててこの位置に置いて、それでこんなイメージで撮ろうっていうのでマイキングするんですけど、そのイメージがそのまんまパーンって入ってくるっていうのがちょっとなんか衝撃的っていうか、なんか良かったなっていう感じはしました。ジェネレックスピーカーをずっと使い続けてるんですけど、大きく分けて2つですね。1つは我々レコーディングエンジニアっていうのはそのミュージシャンと一緒に音楽を作るじゃないですか。それでその、スタジオで、スピーカーを使ってミックスして、でそれがユーザーに届くじゃないですか。その時にやっぱりどういう音質でどういう感じで伝わるかってとても大事なんですよ。ですからその自分が作ってミュージシャンも OK プロデューサーも OK したもののニュアンスが変わらないで伝わる、音楽的なバランスも変わらない、それがやっぱりすごく大事で、そのことがまずジェネレックにとっては非常に僕はありがたいスピーカーになってます。これが1つ目で、2つ目はやっぱりアレンジがあってバランスを作るっつってもただバランスを作ってるわけだけじゃなくて、我々エンジニアっていうのはその中でどういうふうに音をクリエイトしていくかっていうそこの世界が一番面白いんですよ。ですからやっぱりそのスピーカーの音色とかそういうもので音楽性が深く感じるみたいな。で自分がミキシングして 進んでいきながらどんどんこうなんか発想が広がってくるみたいな、そういうクリエイティブ感っていうのをやっぱ感じるスピーカーでやっぱりあってほしいなっていうことがありまして、そういう意味ではとてもこう使ってそういう現場の雰囲気もそういう感じに持っていきやすい、そういうのもありますので、なんかとてもありがたいなって思ってます。スタジオのメインモニターっていうのは分かりやすく言うとスタジオの顔なんですよ。ジェネレックとの出会いというのは1990年、イルポさんがビクタースタジオに来て、で、その前に豊島さん、内沼さんと私とロンドンに行って、でジェネレックを聴いて、これで、自分の CD も持って行ったんですよね。それで聴いた時にすっごい聴きやすかったんですよ。いいなと思って、いろんなミュージシャンが来て、いろんなそのアーティストが来た時にやっぱりあのスタジオはねってなった時に、やっぱり一番のイメージはそのメインモニターの音の質感とか、そのイメージなんですよ。ですからとても大事なポイントだと僕は理解してます。8380ですけども、モニターバランスをちょっとこう大きくしたりちっちゃくしたり聞いた時にあんまり崩れないというか、それでバランスも取れてる。普段そんなにミックスしてる時にそんな大きい音でやりませんので、ある程度ちっちゃな音でもきっちり作りますので、そういうところでもバランスがしっかり作れてるということですごいやりやすいなと。だからレコーディングスタジオ、マスタリングスタジオ、ファイナルで音決めするところなどに、非常にこう安心して使えるんじゃないかなっていう感じは持ちました。
ドームですね。ウーハーも全然違いますね、これ。ああ、なるほどね。すごいな。これに変えた方がなんか人生長生きできるような気がするな。よくできてる。今回、8380A を聞かせてもらって、それまでこの大きさだと1038を20何年、2000年ぐらいから使ってるわけですけど、それでいろいろと思ってたこととか苦労したこととかいろいろあったんですけど、それがなんか全てクリアされてて、言ってみたら全然別のスピーカーで、僕はワンズのユーザーなんですけど、ワンズの延長上のラージっていうことで素晴らしくいいなと思いました。仕事してる上でジェネレックのラージを使ってるとお客さんが喜ぶ、それが一番ですかね。すごいかっこいい音がするんでお客さんが喜んでくれる。そして自分もすごく仕事しやすいですし、それが嘘でないんで正しいモニターとして、すごくよくできてると思います。自分の、監修してるスタジオなんですが、フォームというスタジオが、1035と1036でスタートして、先日1035をレトロフィットキットで1235にアップデートして、とにかくジェネレックは解像度が高くてラージなのに解像度が高い。1235になって GLM が導入されてラージにさらに追い込めて、ラージなのにもうこんなに細かいところまで分かるのかっていう。今までのラージっていうと3ウェイでだいたいこう音響軸みたいなのあるんですけど、ツイッタースコーカーウーハーと分かれてて、場所が分かれてて、それの全体のなんて言うんでしょうね、合成された音響軸みたいなので聞いてるんで、頭の中でいろいろとこうクロスオーバーのこととか場所のそのかぶりとかを補正しながら聞いてるんですけど、ワンズもそうですけど、この8380はワンズと同じように何も頭で補正する必要がなくて、すごく楽に仕事ができそうだな、頭が楽そうだなと、さっき視聴しててずっと思ってました。普段からワンズを使ってて、違うスピーカーに切り替えた時、それって多分増感とユニット間の位相と定位だと思うんですけど、それが多分このスピーカーだと同軸プラスウーハーということで、それも定域が遅いとか、どっかがどうとかっていうのが全くなくて、まるで同軸のようにね聞こえてくるので、すごく分かりやすいし、つかみやすいですね。
位相特性が非常にいいっていうこと、スピード感がすごくあり、定域もしっかり出てる。でやっぱ同軸の良さっていうのも当然あります。8380ですが、最初に聞いた感じもう スパッと感じたのはやっぱり位相特性がすごいいいんじゃないかと。で本当2チャンネルでもうセンターがピッともう浮き立って聞こえる。これはもう明らかにもう位相特性、これは同軸っていうことも当然あると思うんですけど、やはりそれにしてもその低域がその83シリーズの今までの83シリーズよりすごいしっかりした低域、それはバスレフダクトの変更とか、そういうのがあったんだと思うんですけど、非常にそれは感じましたね。このスピーカー、これも私も何十年も前からもうずっとジェネレックでやってるんですけど、まずジェネレックの一番いいとこっていうのは、私どもこのミキシングやっててやった、音量もそうだし音楽のバランスもそうですけど、やっぱりイコライザーとかそういういじった時、いじった感覚がそのまんま表現してくれるんですよね、ジェネレック。だからそのミックスするにも非常にやりやすいスピーカーっていうことでもずっと、ジェネレックを愛好しております。ラージモニターの重要性っていうのはやっぱり音量がある程度上げて、そのリニアリティがすごくよく聞こえるっていうのがまず条件だと思うんですけど、でジェネレックっていうのはそれにぴったりはまったリニアリティがすごいいいんですよね。でお客さんにやっぱり納得してもらうっていうのはやっぱりそのラージモニターである音量で聞いて、小さいのでももちろん聞きますけど、そういった重要性っていうのはすごく大事じゃないかなと思うんですね。ジェネレックの場合っていうのはそれが非常によくできてるというか、ミキシングしやすい、モニターじゃないかなと思いますね。8380の良いとこ、これも先ほども言いましたけども、位相特性が非常にいいっていうこと、それとあとやっぱスピード感がすごくあり、でやっぱ同軸の良さっていうのも当然ありますし、で低域もしっかり出てるっていう部分ではラージモニターとしても十分使えるモニターじゃないかなと思いますね。だから本当これをフロントで、あと83シリーズでこのイマーシブでやったら完璧な音になるんじゃないかなっていうすごい期待はありますね。
And now it's time for a live Q&A with Andy Bensley and Marcel Schechter. Hey guys.
Hi everyone, and welcome to this live Q&A for the 8380. Hi Marcel.
Hi Andy, really nice to meet you, at least virtually.
I'd just like to say a huge thank you to our contributors, Yusi, Aki, Izzy and Paul, as well as Hido-san, Koji-san and Iji-san, that give kind of pretty much a comprehensive overview of the idea and kind of what has brought the 8380 about. So it's our job now to dive into some of your comments and questions and see if we can help answer them. So have we got the first question there?
I think the first question I don't have to bring up because it is just obvious that this is a question that is of huge interest. It's the price point. Andy, can we share something?
Yeah, quite rightly so. So the price of 8380 is going to be around €8,000 ex VAT or ex tax, which kind of puts it kind of slightly above the current 1238 pricing. And though the 8380, excitingly for us, is available to be ordered now. So please check with your local Genelec representative in terms of shipping times, because they will vary depending on your territory. But this is an exciting time for us, as the 8380 is, I don't know, it's a loudspeaker that I've been incredibly excited about, being a huge 1238 fan, and even going back to 1038. Like the first studio I worked in had 1038, and that was kind of my first introduction to Genelec, and certainly into larger main monitors. So kind of seeing the development of that form factor over the years has been really exciting for me. So I can't wait for you all to hear 8380 in the flesh.
I can completely agree, Andy. I think 1238 was also one of the speakers that almost impressed me most, because just of the combination of a really, physical feeling of the sound because of the large 15-inch woofer, and still an absolute fascinating precision. And actually there is one or even more questions. I will just now choose one of them because it's the perfect question to somehow introduce this model if we compare it to what we already have. So the question is, so it combines the best of the 1238 and the 8361. How would you comment on that, Andy?
I think that's a really great starting point. I mean, when I first heard 8380, it was quite easy to kind of see which of the attributes have been kind of combined from each of the models. So I would say you have the kind of the precision and the kind of the immediacy that you get with the kind of the more modern ones design, especially with the increase in the waveguide, so being able to control the directivity as you kind of move off axis. The stability of the imaging was kind of really apparent. But what really excited me was that now you've got this sense of size and power that the 1238 was able to offer. There was a sense of authority when you had them in a room. So kind of if you were kind of tracking live instruments, there was this kind of larger than life kind of this kind of real sense of scale with sound sources. And I think kind of pairing the precision of the ones with the power of 1238, it's something that's really exciting, and kind of when you get to hear these, it'll be really interesting to kind of get your opinion on them.
And you will get the opportunity soon, because we'll have a small world tour, just starting actually this week in Berlin, and we'll of course share some more details at the end of this Q&A. Somehow a similar topic. Why should I choose this one over the 8361s? And which room size is the minimum room size that we recommended and for these new speakers? I think I can also start talking about it, because I also of course know both of these models very, very well. And the 61s offer really stellar imaging. This is no doubt about it. And I also think that given the cabinet size, what we can achieve with the two oval woofers is very, very impressive. So this is definitely not a replacement, or this is also nothing that is somehow, I would say, really a competitor. It's really the application. Because as Andy said, for example, let's say you are in a music studio and you also need this huge SPL capability, not for blowing your ears. This doesn't make sense at all, of course, but just to have this dynamics, for example, if someone is tracking live, or if the band is with you and if they just want to crank it up at some point, and if you still want to, as said, get some kind of a physical sensation. We have in German a nice saying that says, nichts ersetzt Membranfläche, so nothing can replace the size of a membrane, because just of its ability to move air. And therefore, I would still think, if you are, for example, struggling in deciding which model could be the right one for you, just please reach out to support@genelec.com. And usually we ask a few questions, and I'm pretty sure that we can help you in finding out what suits you best. But these models, of course, have similar strengths, I would say, like imaging, or like really a wonderfully controlled wide sweet spot. But they still have different applications they can really shine at.
Yeah, I think with 1238 it was much easier to specify for a room, because there was a defined minimum listening distance, and those applications were were often in post-production where he had to kind of meet a certain standard at a certain distance. So 5 to 6 meters to be able to reproduce 85 dB. That was a common request for that size monitor. Gets a little bit more difficult with the coaxial design because the listening distance actually is reduced. One of the, if I was speaking to a customer regarding an inquiry on the 8380, it would be, what desktop space do you have available? What kind of space behind a meter bridge, for example? And just taking the physical footprint of the loudspeaker and seeing if that could be accommodated. The room size, yes, it will have an impact, but only at the upper limits. I think one thing that's very impressive about 8380 is even at very, very low levels, it's a very complete reproduction of the soundstage and the frequency response. So kind of you're working quite quietly, quite near field, there are applications for that. Obviously, you wouldn't want to be playing them kind of 86, 90 dB plus at kind of 1.2 meters, but you could certainly work with them at that distance in terms of the time alignment and the image arriving at you at the same time, you know, so you would be able to work with them. But they're also incredibly capable as you get into kind of midfield and far field applications. So it's kind of taking a leaf out of the book of the ones where you can work very, very close indeed, and then kind of also the applications of the 81s where you can work very close, but also incredibly far into the room as well.
And of course, you know, Aki and Jussi already mentioned most of the technical, you know, details, but I think it's worth mentioning again. What's amazing about the new model is, for example, that it's so quiet. So although it is a high SPL model, we have a self-noise level of -2 dB, so which is below the human threshold of hearing. And this is, of course, absolutely stunning. And I know that some people are quite sensitive to that, so it can make a difference, especially in multi-channel setups. And I think also worth mentioning, of course, you will soon, of course, check out all the specs we already have on the website and also in the manual that you can instantly download after this session, that now this model also offers very, very, you know, extended high frequencies to above 40 kilohertz, for example, which also just means that the complete design has just a lot of capabilities that can be used. I have a very, very basic question, Andy, but it's a very good one because we actually also spoke about it just before we started this. Do we already have a stand for this new monitor?
At the moment, we don't have a dedicated stand for 8380. Generally, with the larger monitors, what we would tend to do is we would look at third parties, generally because of the weight. And also there is the ability for this loudspeaker to be flush mounted. So the amplifiers can be remoted and the loudspeaker actually to be placed inside a fascia or a soffit. But yeah, there's a number of ways in which the system can be utilized. But kind of keep an eye on the Genelec listing page for 8380 for associated accessories that will come down the line.
And you were mentioning, Andy, flush mounting. Once again, it already had been said, but it's exactly the same cabinet size like 1038, 1238, so it's an easy replacement if you want to do that. Amp module is also completely silent. It's mounted on the backside, and you can, of course, then just have it mounted into racks to get the sufficient airflow around it, because this would not be possible if it's in the wall. Frequency range, and do you need a sub with these speakers? Frequency range, I just, of course, also have it here in front of me, but I'm still double check it that I don't say something wrong. So we have -6 dB point at 29 hertz, so around roughly 30 hertz. And the upper cutoff also -6 dB point is 43 kilohertz. So do you need a subwoofer, Andy? It always depends, I would say.
Largely.
Yeah,
depending on the space, how they're being mounted. If you are experiencing any cancellations in the low mid range, either from floor reflections or from rear wall cancellations, this is kind of where tools like the grade report come in, where you can kind of take measurements with GLM and perform kind of quite an in-depth analysis of the room's behavior and how that marries up to the loudspeaker's performance. One of the benefits of this design is you can soffit mount them. So you are reducing the likelihood of seeing those cancellations in the lower mid-range and in the low end. So again, that reduces the need for a subwoofer. We have always got customers that want more headroom, more LF extension, kind of more ways to intervene in terms of the overall sound character and profile of the system. So yes, these will be absolutely compatible with our existing line of subwoofers, but on its own, it's a very, very capable loudspeaker. And typically, on average, we would see an extension of around about 5 hertz in most rooms. So you can take that 29 and extend it even lower because of boundary loading and just that natural kind of corner frequency that will be extended by positioning these loudspeakers in a room kind of fairly close to a wall, or in fact in a wall.
I just read 1 or 2 comments again. Andy, we forgot to mention the price is per unit. So it's around 8,000 before tax per unit. We are coming, you know, still, this is the typical thing, professional loudspeaker manufacturers always selling per unit. And unfortunately, in this case for you, not in pairs. Otherwise, it would be an absolutely a killer deal. But believe me, if you just had the option to listen to it, it's really worth the price for sure. There was one more really interesting question about the... Okay, this is something interesting. Does this have any cardioid properties, Mr. Bensley? Do we offer cardioid characteristics?
So we're not kind of, because there's no adaptive woofer element to this system. If there was a need to kind of start to be able to really kind of steer the audio away from certain parts of the room, i.e. the rear, then that would be an application for 8361 paired with the woofer stands, for example. That might be a kind of a more of an appropriate choice. But no, in terms of this this design, there's no cardioid properties as such that we can enable in the calibration.
It's, as Andy said, it's always just a design decision, and in that case, we thought it's the better way to do it like this. This is also very good. You see, already shared a few details, but I think it's worth mentioning and talking about it again because it's a significant change. So what is the key difference of the new reflex port combined to the old reflex port design? You might remember these had just been, 2, slots on the left and the right side of the waveguide we had with 1038. Why did we change that, Andy?
As kind of UC said in the video, kind of by changing the kind of the geometry of the waveguide, kind of forced the cabinet resonances to a kind of a different point in the frequency response. I remember we were at the factory a few weeks ago, and we tested this kind of 1238 versus 8380 and kind of ran a tone through the loudspeaker, and its capability to kind of that port to reduce the resonances and kind of, I suppose, for want of a better term, the chuffing noises that you would associate with ports when they're being pushed to their limit was really quite impressive. So again, this is something that we do take a lot of care over. We don't just change certain elements of a design. It's a fundamental redesign going back through the whole cabinet design, the implementation of the waveguide, what effect that then has on the way that we're porting this loudspeaker. So there's nothing that's kind of rinse and repeat about this. The similarities are there in terms of easy upgrade, in terms of the physical size of the loudspeaker, but everything else is kind of really being looked at from a performance point of view. And it's not just a case of making a change for the sake of it. Every change that is made will then inform the decisions along the design process, and that's kind of borne out in the final project of how it measures, and ultimately, most importantly, how it performs in the real world. So again, the opportunity to kind of take a listen to these is going to be really, really exciting.
And just, to sum it up somehow, the size of this waveguide, I think most of you might have seen that, is really impressive. And the size of this waveguide is only possible, for example, because we just use all of the space we have for the waveguide. And the traditional slot design from the base reflex ports would just not have been ideal for this approach. Then we have a question from the hi-fi world. And the hi-fi world, luckily, more and more also sometimes realizes it's cool to have a look or have an ear at studio monitoring because it's just huge fun. What room size would you suggest in a home audio environment? And are there any stands available? Andy already spoke about the stands. No, but yes, because we know there are a lot of stand manufacturers. They just really don't only need to know the weight of the speaker, which is 55 kilograms here, and of course the size you need, and then they can build you whatever you like to, which just also makes it better or easier to have a nice thing for your home environment. Room size, Andy, this is up for discussion because I think it's the same that we always speak about in regular studio rooms. It once again depends. Yeah? You can sit really close, like 1.3 meter if you like to, especially in home environments where usually you are not that critical about, the direct sound to room sound thing, as we usually have it in the grade report, the early versus late sound. It's, for example, no problem to be 3, 4, 5 meters away. Of course, the imaging is best if you are closer because everything is just more stable, it's just more precise. This is, I remember when I discussed this with UC Weissen and also, perfect distance from 8381, our flagship monitor. And some people would be afraid to go closer than 2 or 3 meters, but of course UC said me, hey, something like 2 meters is perfect. And this is true here as well. So it once again depends, of course, if what you are looking for. You will get an excellent, warm, great, full sound also in 5 or 6 meters if you like to. But the precision, of course, is better if you are closer. And the room size, luckily, usually is not that problematic anymore because we still have the option, of course, with GLM to calibrate the speaker. And then it's even possible in really small rooms to get a really decent sound. Do you agree?
Yeah, I would say in larger spaces, it's kind of that's where you will hear the influence of the room more. So then it starts becoming more dependent on the absorbent properties that you may have in that space to kind of keep that control, to stabilize that stereo image, to kind of reduce those reflections coming into the listening position. I certainly wouldn't consider these to be near field, but because of the coaxial design, you can sit way, way closer to them than you could ever do with 1238. When you got close to 1238, you're like, oh, there's the tweeter, there's the mid-range, there's the woofer. And it wouldn't be until you came back where then it would focus and give you a complete image. And this is where this coaxial design is really exciting because it really gives you a lot more flexibility to get closer to the loudspeaker. So I would say in terms of the room, there's a lot that comes into play in terms of aesthetics, in terms of the size, the physical size of the loudspeaker. Can you get them a nice equal distance to kind of to give you a kind of a suitable angle at the listening position? But then from there, no, there's kind of no hard and fast rules with it. I think as you move further away from the loudspeaker, that's where the considerations would come in terms of looking at some sort of absorbent properties to kind of just to kind of guide those, kind of guide the audio more to the listening position and to reduce those early reflections.
And once again, a question more from the hi-fi world, but that's perfectly fine. What about, using this speaker in hi-fi applications? This is easy to answer. Do it. Because I can promise you, you will have a lot of fun. Many years ago, I don't remember exactly when it was. I think it's more than 6, 7, 8 years ago. We had 1238. So somehow, the base model for the new, the new 8380 at Munich High End. And I remember that people had been completely blown away. Of course, there always had been these discussions, it looks like a studio speaker and things like that, which of course is right, because this is where we come from. And this is why, and we make a lot of decisions because of the acoustics and not because of the look of something. But we had a lot of people who just told us this was the best speaker at that show. And we got the same feedback again with 8381 when we had been there this year. So please check this out. There's nothing that, makes it impossible to use a good studio speaker in a home environment. You will just have fun because you can somehow really, you will find new details in your music for sure, and you will just experience the difference, for example, calibration can make compared to other stuff. And this is just worth trying it out. And I already know of dealers who will have this model soon in their demo rooms. So just go for it. Yeah. Hey, thanks a lot for sending us that many questions. We already discussed because we saw them coming in while you know the pre-produced stuff was running. We can be open with that, and we already checked the questions. And I can guarantee you, we will go through all of them. So you will receive your replies. I think our colleagues already did a great job in replying to a lot of them, and we have chosen now just a nice variety to show. You know, I think. What is mostly of interest at the moment. As said, we will have a small world tour. The world will become, you know, larger and larger when we continue with that. Just that I can share you the first dates we already have. So this is SpeedCon in Berlin, a really nice, you know, hip hop centered conference, 3rd and 4th of October. So actually this weekend. And then we will be at the Audiovisual Expo in Tampere, 8th and 9th of October in Finland. Then we are at Paris Audio Video Show. This is 25th and 26th of October. Tonmeistertagung Düsseldorf. You know, this is where the real Tonmeisters are. And luckily a lot of students nowadays as well. This is from the 12th to the 15th of November. This show is pretty expensive if you want to join the complete program, but they also sell tickets for the exhibition only. And of course, this ticket is enough for you. So I think it's around 30 euros and you can easily then stay with us the complete day in our room. Then we have Sonic Days in Kolding, 19th and 20th of November, and then JTSE in Paris, 26th and 27th of November. And Andy, Great Britain is already preparing something for.
Yes.
Is it
yeah,
December?
We'll be looking to head out with 8380 towards the back end of October.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
So we've
So
got demo
just stay
units ready to
tuned, and
go.
we of course will share these options on all of our channels. And yeah, of course, now feel free to visit our website and check out the manual and the specs. And we will also upload an edited version of this video for sure, if you want to check out a few more details from, you know, our true experts from R&D. I think we agree both, and it's always such a pleasure to present and talk about these products because what's happening on R&D side is just amazing. So they are always in the background somehow. They want to be there, but just, you know, hats off. This is an amazing product, and hopefully you will enjoy it as much as we do. And once again, thanks to all who had been, you know, part of the team here, marketing-wise, running this show and editing the video and all of these things that needed to be done. Yeah, and of course, thanks to you. And I will hand over to Andy to the proper, you know, the native wrap up.
So thank you everyone for joining us. I think just to kind of add on to Marcel's comments, please contact your local Genelec representatives because we do have demo units that are shipped all over the world. So it's very exciting for us that the 8380 is available and ready to go. And there will be opportunities to take a listen. So please contact your local Genelec representative in your territory, and they'll be able to arrange a demo for you. But I'd just like to take the opportunity to thank you all for joining us, and thank you so much for your questions. Thank you to all the team for your support with today. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And I believe that the 8380 product page is now live at genelec.com.
It is.
So thank you very much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you soon. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.